안내 말씀드리겠습니다. 잠시 후 2020 서울글로벌창업센터 데모데이 행사가 시작되오니 줌에 접속하고 계신 심사위원분들은 카메라를 켜두시고 마이크는 음소거 상태로 전환해 주시기 바랍니다. 자리를 비우실 경우에는 카메라를 끄고 이동하시길 바랍니다. 그럼 잠시 후 본 행사를 시작하겠습니다. 다시 한번 안내 말씀드리겠습니다. 잠시 후 2020 서울글로벌창업센터 데모데이 행사가 시작되오니 줌에 접속하고 계신 심사위원분들은 카메라를 켜주시고 마이크는 음소거 상태로 전환해 주시기 바랍니다. 자리를 비우실 경우에는 카메라를 끄고 이동해 주시길 바랍니다. 그럼 잠시 후 본 행사를 시작하겠습니다. 네, 안녕하세요. 2020년 서울 글로벌 창업센터 데모데이에 오신 여러분들 환영합니다. 저는 이번 데모데이의 사회를 맡은 정은지 아나운서입니다. 반갑습니다. 네, 감사합니다. 네, 47개 팀과 60여 개국의 외국인 스타트업으로 구성되어 있는 서울 글로벌 창업센터는 서울이 아시아의 창업허브로 도약하고 입주 기업들을 국내의 스타트업 핵심으로 양성하겠다는 목표로 5년간 외국인 스타트업을 지원해 왔습니다. 이번 데모데이는 현재 활동 중인 5기 입주 기업과 졸업 기업이 참여하는 제1회 데모데이로서 서울 글로벌 창업센터 설립 이후 그동안의 성과와 입주 기업들의 가능성을 확인해 보는 자리라고 할 수 있겠습니다. 특히 올해는 코로나19로 스타트업들의 전반적인 활동이 위축된 상황임에도 많은 서울 글로벌 창업센터 소속 기업들이 1차 라운드에 지원해서 치열한 선발 과정을 거쳤는데요. 그중에서도 우수한 성적을 거둬 선발된 10개 팀이 오늘 데모데이를 빛내주실 예정입니다. 또한 오늘 데모데이에서 최고 득점을 받은 3개 팀에게는 각 300만 원의 창업 지원금이 제공될 예정이며 기업들의 발표가 끝난 직후 시상식이 진행되오니 끝까지 집중해 주시길 바라겠습니다. 다음은 서울 글로벌 창업센터의 운영기관 N15과 입주 기업들의 해외 진출을 가속화시키기 위해 협업하고 있는 글로벌 벤처 캐피털리스트 500 스타트업츠에서 특별한 분을 모셨습니다. 500 스타트업츠의 아시아 퍼시픽 헤드 토마스 쟁 디렉터님이십니다.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you to the organizers of this event for the invitation to speak. Demo days are always inspiring. I find myself catching a glimpse of a better world every time I participate. And in that spirit, let me offer a sincere congratulations to the startup teams completing this program. Entrepreneurship requires courage and grit, and expanding internationally requires even more of a spirit of adventure. This is particularly the case in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. As the outbreak once again spikes in Korea and elsewhere, we are reminded that this has been a long, challenging year. We never quite know what is going to happen, though of course we always hope for the best. But entrepreneurs are those that see opportunities where the world sees challenges. So it is in the spirit of optimism that we come together to celebrate those accomplishments. A quick word of introduction about myself. My name is Thomas Jang. I lead global business development at 500 Startups. In this role, I have the opportunity to support the innovation efforts of startups, governments, corporations, and investors around the world. Two questions frequently come up in my conversations these days. First, what do you think is coming next? And second, how can my organization and I be better prepared for what's next? While both of these questions are salient and well-intentioned, I believe that they miss the broader point. Each of us, particularly as entrepreneurs, has the opportunity to create the world we want to live in. We are not just passive observers in our global society. We can be active agents of change. While it's true that there are broader forces beyond our control, a virus among them, that does not stop us from building the future. Towards the beginning of the pandemic, around April, there arose the idea that as a civilization, we should hunker down, take care of ourselves, and wait for everything to pass. Many commentators called it the Great Pause. In effect, they argued that if we just wait it out, the world will eventually go back to being normal and we can continue the way we had before. This idea has some appeal. After all, facing the unknown can be difficult. The Silicon Valley venture capital firm, Sequoia, even wrote a piece calling COVID-19 a black swan. They recommended that businesses can be prepared for several challenging quarters of difficult conditions and soft demand. It was a well-argued piece. I myself was convinced that we should be focusing on mitigating downside risk and just getting through the next year. But this viewpoint missed the fact that individuals, businesses, and governments could not afford to stand still. They had to continue pressing forward in their endeavors, and they needed the right tools and services to do it. Their resilience drove them to start using new technologies as never before. Far from going on pause, aspects of the economy are moving faster than ever. This is now being called the Great Acceleration. Over the past 8 or 9 months, digital technologies and new business models have helped the world adapt to life with the coronavirus. We've seen consumers and businesses alike adopt new technology at an unprecedented pace. As data from April showed, in only a couple of months, use of digital channels exploded across industries. What would have taken years to occur happened in just a few months. There's little doubt that this trend has continued. The users are building new digital habits that are unlikely to reverse. Perhaps the best evidence of this is the massive IPOs that have occurred in technology over just the past several months. Companies like DoorDash in food delivery, Airbnb in travel, Snowflake in database technology, and Lemonade in insurance have IPO'd at billions of dollars. And even more, their valuations have skyrocketed even post-IPO, indicating that markets believe they will grow to become even more influential and successful in the years to come. While one can certainly quibble with how high their valuations have become, there's little doubt that the capabilities and customer experiences they have developed are becoming the norm. Critically, they have helped their customers adapt to a COVID-19 world. The success of these companies illustrates a key point that we often forget, which is that entrepreneurship is ultimately about solving problems. We as entrepreneurs and investors build the future we want to live in by identifying problems in the world and solving them in innovative ways. It's important to place this in historical context. We can start by looking back by exactly 100 years. While it's often forgotten today, the Spanish flu of 1918 to 1920 devastated the world. Over 500 million people were infected. As many as 50 million people died. Global GDP shrank by as much as 7%, compounding the destruction of the First World War. There's suffering we would struggle to imagine today. Then, as now, the global pandemic created serious problems. The labor force had shrunk. People bore enormous psychological burdens. But entrepreneurs found solutions to these problems and, in the process, created the modern world. In the decade following the Spanish flu, there was an explosion of innovation in an unprecedented way. Entrepreneurs helped the world adopt electrification, radio, mechanization, and the internal combustion engine. And they even laid the foundations for modern rocketry. By applying innovative technology, entrepreneurs and society were able to prosper by solving massive problems. Similarly, entrepreneurs also applied new approaches to solve the problems of economic hardship arising from the Great Recession of 2008 to 2009. The founders of Airbnb helped travelers find affordable accommodation. Uber Cab, which became Uber, helped drivers earn additional income while they were underemployed. Square helped small business owners, many of whom had started businesses due to a lack of other options, grow their customer base. Again, they created enormous value by solving big problems. Turning our attention to today, the COVID-19 pandemic has wreaked havoc on the world. Over 1.2 million people have died worldwide. Global GDP has contracted by at least 7%. We are all living through uncertainty and a sense of risk. These problems will not go away just because we enter 2021, or even after we receive access to vaccines. In fact, many problems will linger. Organizations will have trouble managing remote work. Supply chains, stressed and broken, will need to be redeveloped and redirected. Mental health, especially among young people, looks to be a continuing issue. Perhaps most of all, many millions will face poverty and unemployment due to the impact of the disease. But again, now, as before, there's the opportunity for entrepreneurs to step up and create the future by helping to solve these problems. The world cannot heal otherwise. Of course, these are highly complex problems, and it's impossible for any one company to solve them in their entirety, which is why we always recommend that founders focus first on solving one part of the puzzle. As you envision the world you would like to live in, recognize that change will not happen overnight. Begin by doing just one or a few things really well. In doing so, rather than perhaps doing many things okay, you can start to achieve global influence. You can help build the ecosystem of solutions to solve big problems. I'll give you one example. In many Western countries, there have been shortfalls of medical equipment due to international supply chain challenges. As a result, many hospitals and medical supply providers have started to use 3D printing to obtain much needed equipment. The technology shows a great deal of promise, and adoption is increasing. However, many problems remain to be solved before 3D printing can be used consistently. Many issues need to be addressed: security, testing, quality control, design, staff training, production network management, and intellectual property protection, just to name a few. There's no practical way for a single player to solve all these problems on their own. An ecosystem of solutions is required. In just this one example, a startup could have a global impact by solving just one small problem. As we enter the new world, there are dozens of opportunities like this, just waiting for the right entrepreneur to grasp them. In closing, I would urge everyone in the audience to remember that the world is waiting for you and what you bring. Customers are more open to new approaches than ever before. The world has many challenges and therefore opportunities. By solving just one part of the broader puzzle, you can have a global impact. So, move forward with confidence and help solve global problems. I wish you all well and best of luck at Demo Day. If anyone would like to stay in touch, please reach me at thomas.jang@500startups.com. Thank you.
네, 말씀 잘 들었습니다. 멀리 계심에도 불구하고 유익한 강연 전달해 주셔서 다시 한번 감사의 말씀을 전합니다. 네, 이제 곧 입주 기업들의 IR 발표가 시작이 되는데요. 이번 2020 서울글로벌창업센터 데모데이는 세계 각국에서 활발하게 활동 중이신 글로벌 벤처캐피털 관계자, 많은 유관기관 관계자분들께서 온라인으로 참석해 주셨습니다. 네, 소개해드리겠습니다. 비석세스 대표 정현욱 대표님이십니다. 네, 대표님 손 한번 흔들어 주십시오. 네, 반갑습니다. 네, 다음은 541벤처스의 대표 이은세 대표님이십니다. 환영합니다. 네, 다음은 버즈빌의 전 CEO이자 뉴욕대학교 교수 로버트 서님이십니다. 환영합니다. LG테크놀로지 벤처스의 CFO이자 바이스 프레지던트 조계현님이십니다. 반갑습니다. 네, 베가엑스 홀딩스 대표 상리 대표님이십니다. 네, 손 한번 흔들어 주십시오. 네, 감사합니다. 네, 요즈마 아시아 이스턴 US 대표 데이비드 킴 대표님이십니다. 반갑습니다. 다음은 쿼터북의 대표 앤디 최 대표님이십니다. 네, 반갑습니다. 다음은 송현 인베스트먼트의 정세홍 부장님이십니다. 네, 반갑습니다. 하나투자증권의 장한월 부장님이십니다. 네, 어디 계신가요? 네, 안녕하십니까? 네, 다음은 HB 인베스트먼트의 김예나 심사역이십니다. 네, 반갑습니다. 네, 화면으로 심사위원분들 만나봤는데요. 이번 데모데이는 조금 특별하게 더 많은 분들에게 전달이 됩니다. 글로벌 스타트업 대표들이 23일 현장에서 피칭하는 모습은 한글 자막을 더해서 29일 온라인상에서 국내 벤처캐피털 관계자, 유관기관 관계자에게 전달이 되게 됩니다. 이 과정 중 피칭에 대해서는 어떠한 편집도 없음을 약속드립니다. 자, 그러면 서울 글로벌 창업센터 소개 영상을 보시면서 2020년 서울 글로벌 창업센터 데모데이를 시작하겠습니다.
안녕하십니까. 서울글로벌 창업센터 센터장 조성민입니다. 저희 서울글로벌 창업센터는 유망한 아이템을 보유한 초기 및 성장 단계의 외국인 스타트업들을 발굴하고 외국인 스타트업들을 대상으로 창업 지원 프로그램을 기획 운영하고 있으며 입주공간을 제공하고 있습니다. 이번 데모데이는 코로나19 상황으로 아쉽게도 온라인으로 진행할 예정인데요. 저희가 스타트업들의 해외 진출을 지원하기 위해서 글로벌 VC도 초청한 상태입니다. 저희 서울글로벌 창업센터는 이번 데모데이 이후에도 입주 기업들의 글로벌 진출과 그리고 활로 개척을 지원하기 위해서 다양한 프로그램을 기획하고 있습니다. 앞으로도 많은 협조, 참여 부탁드립니다. 감사합니다.
The support we received from the Global Startup Center was, great for us, especially at the right time because we were starting to outgrow our old office. And so it gave us the infrastructure we needed by providing some more space for us to, get more employees and also just get a nice community of people that we could get support from. So
we get a lot of things. First is like you get to get advice, especially from specialists in various fields like legal, financial, and we try to get the meeting from our mentors. This is the one that we wanted the most. And the second one is like we want to get investor as well.
Seoul Global Startup Center is impactful.
Best mentor.
Home.
Great place.
Place to be for foreign entrepreneur.
Seoul Global Startup Center.
네, 이제 본격적인 10팀의 서울 글로벌 창업센터 IR이 시작되는데요. 첫 번째 팀 발표하겠습니다. 첫 번째로 IR 발표를 해주실 팀은 공장 관리를 돕는 스마트 팩토리 솔루션 젠틀에너지 주식회사입니다. 네, 큰 박수로 맞이해 주시기 바랍니다.
네, 안녕하세요. 저는 중소중견기업의 공장의 체질을 개선하고자 나온 젠틀에너지 김진구 공동대표라고 합니다. 저희의 주 목적은 다음과 같습니다. 중소중견기업의 공장을 레트로핏하여 스마트 공장으로 업그레이드함에 있습니다. 저희가 정의하고 있는 중소중견기업의 공장은 연 매출 약 50억에서 1조 원 규모로 2019년 기준 우리나라 약 20만 개 공장 중 4만 개 공장이 여기에 해당합니다. 그리고 레트로핏이라 하면은 기존 설계 중대한 변경 없이 간단히 탈부착만으로, 설비기의 탈부착만으로 완전 스마트 팩토리로 전환하는 것에 의미가 있습니다. 저희 제품명은 팩토로이드입니다. 저희는 애초에 이 팩토로이드를 기획 단계에서부터 약 150여 개의 중소 중견기업을 찾아뵙고 실제 고객의 니즈를 받아들여서 기획을 하게 되었는데요. 이 기능은 다음과 같습니다. 저희가 하루 일과 중에 공무부 인원의 하루 일과 중에 20%에서 30%에 되는 시간을 대체할 수 있는 현황 모니터링 기능, 그리고 생산 반장이 언제 어디서든지 공장을 관리할 수 있는 생산성 최적화 기능, 그리고 사소하지만 제대로 관리가 안 됐을 때 큰 문제가 생길 수 있는 유지보수 소모품 관리 기능, 그리고 미래를 예측하여 다운타임을 줄일 수 있는 예측 정비 기능, 그리고 기기의 운영 데이터를 기반으로 생산성 개선을 제안해 줄 수 있는 공정 최적화 기능들이 있습니다. 저희의 센서는 좀 특이한데요. 자가 발전 스마트 센서로서 외부의 통신선과 전원선이 전혀 필요 없습니다. 완전 무선 센서인데요. 저희는 공장 내에 있는 진동, 열, 그리고 빛 에너지를 수거하여서 이 에너지를 전환해서 저희 센서의 전원을 공급하고 있습니다. 그리고 이와 동시에 그 데이터 발전량을 가지고 저희는 데이터를 모니터링을 하고 있는데요. 저희 센서의 가장 큰 장점 중에 하나는 언제 어디서든지 이 진동과 열과 빛만 있으면 적용 가능하다는 높은 범용성이 있습니다. 저희 데이터는 왼쪽 형태로 들어옵니다. 시계열 데이터로 들어오게 되는데 사람의 육안으로 봤을 때는 쉽게 분간하기 어렵지만 저희는 AI, 비지도 학습 기법을 통해서 클러스터링을 통해서 유지보수 데이터뿐만 아니라 어떤 품목이 생산되고 있는지 실시간으로 알려드릴 수 있습니다. 저희의 핵심 경쟁력은 크게 4가지로 나눠져 있습니다. 첫 번째는 데이터 썸 아날리틱스 모델링으로 기존 경쟁사가 킬로바이트 단위로 데이터를 수집할 때 저희는 바이트 단위로 센서 단에서 한번 가공을 하여서 저희 서버로 보내게 되는데요. 이럼으로써 저희는 운영 비용을 경쟁사 대비 확연하게 줄여드릴 수 있었습니다. 다음으로는 초전력 엣지 컴퓨팅 기능입니다. 저희 회로 설계는 초저전력으로 되어 있고 저희가 미활용 에너지를 수거해서 전원을 공급하다 보니까 절대적인 발전량 자체는 그렇게 높진 않습니다. 하지만 저희가 그것보다도 훨씬 덜 소모되는 전력 회로를 개발을 하여서 저희 센서가 아무 무리 없이 돌아가게 만들었습니다. 또한 저희가 여러 기기들을 보면서 각각 기기에 맞는 그 진동 주파수에 대한 연구가 필요했는데 저희는 약 33년 진동 소음학을 전공하신 교수님을 저희 연구소장님을 모여서 저희가 진동 에너지를 극대화할 수 있는 발전량을 극대화할 수 있는 방법과 어떻게 하면 더 빨리 설치할 수 있는지에 대한 연구를 진행하고 있고 다른 경쟁사 대비 큰 차별점이라고 보실 수 있습니다. 마지막으로는 마찰 전기 발전 소자인데 저희는 궁극적으로 앞전 소자를 대체할 수 있는 발전 소자를 만들고 있고 저희의 미래 먹거리입니다. 저희 비즈니스 모델은 3개월의 무료 평가 이후에 연간 구독 모델 혹은 선불 결제 모델로 전환시켜 드리고 있고 저희는 한 사람의 인건비로 약 4천만에서 5천만 원 인건비로 완전 스마트 공장으로 업그레이드를 해드리고 있습니다. 현재 저희 고객사로는 6개 고객사가 있고 보시면은 봉제사서부터 농업기계 부품 제조사까지 다양한 산업의 고객사를 보유하고 있습니다. 이 외에도 다양한 파이프라인이 있어서 내년에는 약 30개의 업체를 타겟으로 하고 있습니다. 저희는 2025년도를 매우 중요한 변곡점으로 보고 있습니다. 2025년도 전까지는 사실 스마트 공장이 그렇게 많지 않을 거로 예상을 해서 레트로핏 시장을 좀 더 타겟을 할 예정이고요. 2025년도까지 수거한 저희 데이터를 기반으로 그 이후에는 좀 더 통합적인 데이터 센트릭한 비즈니스 모델로 이 업계를 다가가려고 합니다. 저희 2025년도 목표는 5천억으로서 이게 매우 큰 숫자로 보일 수 있지만 결국 10,000개 고객이 달성하면 되는 숫자입니다. 저희가 타겟할 수 있는 전 세계의 공장은 수백만 개가 되므로 이 숫자도 충분히 도달할 수 있을 거라고 생각을 합니다. 이를 위해서 저희가 어벤져스 팀을 모았고 그리고 또 저희 NXP의 전 CTO이신 한스 라이언스님께서 저희 주주이자 고문 단위로서 저희 저전력 회로 설계도 도와주고 계십니다. 감사합니다.
네, 잘 들었습니다. 다음은 질의응답 시간이 있겠습니다. 발표를 들으시고 질문이 있으신 분은 손을 들어주시길 바랍니다. 네. 안드레아 심사위원님, 먼저 발표해 주시겠습니다.
Thank you for your pitch. It's very impressive, and I hope you're great success in your business.
Thank you.
I have 2 questions for you. For example, how much initial funding do you need, and how long do you sustain? That's my first question. And the second question is, how are you going to make your go to global market, not only just for domestic market? So could you answer my
Yes,
question?
yes. Actually, currently we just raised about 1.3 million from various domestic VCs. So our next funding round will be around end of next year, which is about September or October-ish. So then we'll probably be funding about 10 mil or plus. That's one question. And our current burn rate is about 100K per month. And the second question, how do we approach the global customer? Well, most of our domestic customers, they also have factories overseas. So what we'll do is we'll first approach their overseas factories first, and then we'll see how they come, and then we'll, based on that reference, we'll find another customers or our partners overseas. That's our initial global strategy.
Thank you so much.
네, 한 분 더 질문 들어보도록 하겠습니다. 질문 있으신 분은 손을 들어주시길 바랍니다. 네, 은세리 심사위원님 질문해 주시기 바랍니다.
Thank you for a great presentation. I have one question. What is your pricing strategy, and how do you justify that pricing model?
Excuse me, can you repeat again?
What is your pricing strategy, and how do you justify the pricing?
Right. So what we're trying to replace is we're trying to replace a person's salary. So what we're charging the customer is a person's salary. So what we're actually doing is we're replacing all the activities that a one personnel can do, which is starting from going around the factory 2 to 3 hours per day, just monitoring the devices. And the second one is, they also have to record manufacturing results. So how much they produce, how much they manufacture per day. And they also have to maintain, they have to do maintenance for each facilities. So what we're trying to do is we're just trying to duplicate what the person is doing, but just digitally. So our pricing strategy is we're trying to just try to replace a person, which is a person's salary. That's our pricing strategy.
네, 엄지를 올려주셨습니다. 네, 또 한 분 질문 있으실까요? 질문 있으신 분은 손을 들어주시면 되겠습니다. 네, 없으신가요? 없으시면 이상으로 젠틀에너지 주식회사의 발표를 마치겠습니다. 감사합니다.
Thank you.
네, 다음 팀 소개하겠습니다. 다음 팀은 원스톱 할랄 제품 이커머스 플러스 알파 트레이딩입니다. 네, 무대 위로 올라와 주시기 바라겠습니다. 네, 환영하의 박수 보내주시기 바랍니다.
Yeah, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Aziz. I'm a co-founder and CSO of Plus Alpha Trading, and today I'm going to be presenting our online store Bazarica, one stop for foreign products with aim to become biggest online halal grocery store in Korea. So here is our agenda. I'm going to be presenting needs and potential and size of the market, our milestone and what we do, and lastly, key financial indicators and business model. So going for these are based on different cultural and religious aspect. We divide the needs of foreigners which are currently facing in South Korea. So Muslims have special needs, halal products. Foreigners feel difficulties finding right product. The products which they usually consume and have back in their own countries. And language barriers of current e-commerce platforms in Korea. And at the same time, lastly but not the least, a complicated payment system. So by addressing those needs, we are providing with halal product, we're providing with the right needed product, and solve communication issue with a multi-language platform. And at the same time applying the easy payment system in our online solution. So actually foreign market is very underestimated in Korea, and lots of Korean companies are not addressing well but you can see the numbers are pretty impressive, and it's more than almost 5% of total population of South Korea, 2.5 million in Korea. So Muslims within that 250K, it is projected to be 4.5 million in 2030, and as you can see, that more than 70 million tourists are visiting every year South Korea. So market size is pretty impressive as well. As you can see, that total estimation is more than $8 billion. So we segmented into two parts: grocery market and shopping market, and based on cultural differences and preferences. So we are moving step by step by occupying those markets. And we started actually with targeting Muslims population. Why? Because we are coming from that culture, and we thought that if we can challenge one of the difficult culture, we can do more than that. So our key milestones, actually we started offline by the targeting, by the finding the needs of foreigners. We went online in 2016. We launched, late 2016, we launched our applications in Android and iOS. But we not only went and developed application, but also we started developing our own product and our own brands. So we launched our own meat processing factory and sausage processing factory at the same time to bring more value to our customers. So, and of course, those brands are IP protected in 2020. So going further, this is our application with the multi-language support, which is ready and running. Audience reach, as of now, we reach 60,000 downloads, where return rate goes to 33% with 20,000 active users. And we have also reach of SNS to more than 30,000 users. So key financial indicators are pretty impressive as well. You can see that we reach compound average growth rate 145%, and actually we tripled the sales to more than 33 OC1 in this year, and we are targeting to double next year. We're so excited about this. And our reach in 2023 would be more than 300 OC1. So our business model, actually, everything what we do in-house. So manufacturing in-house, IT development in-house, to give more value to our customers, so that logistics and pricing and all the stuff would be very acceptable in that form. So we are diversifying in the revenue stream. So you can see that we're not only doing online B2C, but also B2B and offline shop as well. So these are the needs, what we have currently.
네, 마무리 부탁드립니다.
Investment, expansion, and network. And this is our strategy. So this year, we are, like in 2 years, we're targeting the needs of local markets. In the future, are expanding to other markets. Thank you very much.
네, 감사합니다. 네, 이어서 바로 Q&A 시간 갖도록 하겠습니다. 저희 지금 줌으로 심사위원분들께서 함께 해주시고 계시는데요. 질문이 있으신 분은 손을 들어서 질문을 해주시면 되겠습니다. 원스톱 할랄 제품 이커머스 플러스 알파 트레이딩입니다. 질문이 있으신 분은 손을 들어서 질문을 해주시면 되겠습니다. 네, 손을 들어주신 분, 이번에는 상리 심사위원님께서 먼저 질문해 주시겠습니다.
Thanks for the great presentation. Just had 2 quick questions. Could you talk a little bit more about your team and the expertise you're bringing to the table? And the second, since you did talk about production as well, could you talk a little bit about the unit economics for some of the products that you're selling?
Yes. Actually, I have on attachment, appendix, our team. Can you, if possible, can we open it? Here's our organization. Actually, you can see that it's, as I said, everything is in-house, what we're trying to do. We have IT platform, we have developers. In each step, we have people. So, and in IT area, in business strategy area, in warehouse, and etc. If you, sorry. Here go our our team. So as you can see that mainly team is coming from one of the biggest conglomerate, Samsung Electronics. Our CTO coming with 11 years experience. Myself, I have more than 10 years experience of B2B and B2C sales. Our COO has more than 10 years of experience in service planning and service operation. We have a partner here as well. He's Korean. And Sing Lee, who has more than 12 years of experience in trade. So we have a very sophisticated team from each aspect of business. That's why we're managing actually this kind of in-house strategy, in-house business.
네, 답변을 해주셨는데요. 또 질문이 있으신 분은 손을 들어주시면 저희가 질문할 기회를 드리도록 하겠습니다. 네, 심사위원님 손 들어주셨는데요. ND 심사위원님께서 질문해 주시기 바랍니다.
Hi, thank you so much for the presentation. I have another quick question. So in terms of like competitive advantages, like in case a different like e-commerce platform pops out, or in case an existing e-commerce platform starts providing these halal products, like what do you think your key competitive like edges might be?
As I already told, that our competitiveness are coming from that, in-house control. So we are not only producing, we're not only IT developing the products, but at the same time we are trying to, first of all, yes, we have a major partnership with the vendors who are bringing the products here, like first-hand vendors. And at the same time, some of the products we are importing ourselves as well. So here we go with the price competitiveness. At the same time, we're trying to bring up our own product, like a branded product, and meet actually number one consuming product, let's say, for everyone. So in that form, we are processing and packaging meat by ourselves by bringing, first of all, better quality product, because we're selecting the best product out of existing. And at the same time, we are very competitive in pricing in those key products. Thank you.
네, 답변을 다 마치셨습니다. 혹시 질의 더 하실 분 계신가요? 질문 더 해주실 심사위원분들은 손을 들어주시기 바랍니다. 네, 안 계시면 여기서 마치도록 하겠습니다. 지금까지 플러스 알파 트레이딩이었습니다. 감사합니다. 네, 다음 팀 소개를 해드릴 텐데요. 지금 심사위원분들께서 외국에서 접속을 하시다 보니까 늦은 밤이세요. 그럼에도 불구하고 열심히 질문해 주시고 관심 가져주셔서 굉장히 감사드립니다. 네, 다음 팀 지금 준비를 하고 있는데요. 준비를 마치는 대로 바로 올라오도록 하겠습니다. 이번 팀은 스마트 전기자동차 충전 및 관리 시스템, 주식회사 원차지 솔루션스 코리아입니다. 환영의 박수 부탁드립니다.
Hi everyone, I'm Cyrus, the CEO and co-founder of OneCharge Solution. So electric vehicles become very popular nowadays. There are more and more electric vehicles on the road, but there's a very significant problem. There is no charging stations around, and the charging stations are not easy to use. People are struggling to use the charging stations. So OneCharge is here to put a very easy to use, very user-friendly interface and charging system to make everyone charge their car in faster speed and also very easy to start the charging session and get away from the car park. So everyone loves the blue sky. But the problem is the roadside pollution is one of the biggest pollutants to make the sky become gray and also having problems with the air quality. So OneCharge is here to provide a zero emission option for charging and accelerate the speed of zero emission driving. And in Asia, it's a main market of the EV market. It's a highly potential continent as India and also China has a huge population, and there is a lot of Southeast Asia countries are very intent into the market, especially in the South Korea. They are the pioneer of the market. They have very good EVs by Hyundai and Kia, and also they have good planning by the government to spread the EV around the city. The next one is about the charging station. So Tesla has a very good plan. They do everything very well. They have supercharging stations, but there's only accountable for 20% of the market share. And there is 80% of generic chargers for the other brands, but they don't have a good network to do that. So that means they are relying on the generic chargers. And One Charge is here to provide the generic chargers for everyone to charge their cars easily. And there's three things to provide. The first one is the AI charging systems and also the open analytics systems. Between that, we have a dedicated user app for drivers to do the charging sections by searching and also the payment. And we convert any parking space into the EV charging station. So we are from Hong Kong in 2017, and we are the world's first company to provide AI in car vision. That means you can finish the charging in the setting in 15 seconds and get away from the 40 degrees Celsius car park. And we have patents to protect our technologies, and which is already in Hong Kong and applying in Korea. So this is our pricing model. We start from free, and then when you purchase the device, you can use our backend and the app. And we have a transaction fee for every paid transactions. And then we have the stations with Lotte Group and IFC Mall in Korea, which is a very good showcase. And more customers on board, like JLL Group, international property company, and also another charging solutions company to provide 600 charging stations in coming 3 years. And we have more customers on board, like Thailand, Malaysia, and all the Southeast Asian market. And we are very intent to go to there as they are very aggressive targets by the government. And we have a lot of awards on board, like the Hong Kong ICT Award in 2020, and also the Origin Startup Awards in this year, which are very good recognition of our technology, is widely accepted by the experts and the market players. Also, is widely accepted by the customers, including the B2B and B2B2C customers. That means the drivers. So we have a very international team, from Hong Kong to Macau to Korea, and lastly in Taiwan. That means we are very focusing on international market, not only in specific markets, to bring the best experience to everyone for the EV charging. So I hope everyone can go on board with our team and join together to have a better sky, better air quality. Also very easy to use EV charging systems. So thank you for your time. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. Thank you.
네, 발표를 잘 마치셨습니다. 이어서 바로 Q&A 시간 갖도록 하겠습니다. 스마트 전기자동차 충전 및 관리 시스템, 주식회사 원차지 솔루션스 코리아에 질문이 있으신 분은 손을 들어주시길 바랍니다. 발표가 너무 완벽했을까요? 질문이 없습니다. 네, 손을 들어주셨는데요. 제임스 심사위원님 질문해 주시기 바랍니다.
Top 3 things that will drive your growth.
Sorry, can you repeat again? I cannot hear the questions. Can you repeat again?
다시 한번 질문 부탁드릴게요.
What are the top 3 things that you think that will drive your growth like massively in the future?
So it's the main, if I don't get it wrong, so it will become mainstream. As you can see, there are more cars on the road, and it's very successful. You can see Tesla and Kia are getting huge market share on the EVs, and the boosting is about double for every year. So we think it's a future of driving. And our system is already deployed in Hong Kong, Macau, and Korea. It's also recognized of our system to be successful in the very fierce competition in the market.
네, 답변을 마치셨고요. 또 질문 있으신 분 심사위원분께서는 손을 들어서 의사를 표현해 주시면 되겠습니다. 네, 로버트 서 심사위원님 말씀해 주시죠.
I really like, it was a really good pitch, so good job, and I think the opportunity is great. I guess my question is, what's your go-to-market? Because I feel like it's going to be a land grab, and you need to raise a lot of money. So how are you going to be able to enable that?
So it's truly that is a capital intensive market. So we do two fundraising so far. The amount is not that big. The first one is with Lotte Accelerator, and I can disclose you the amount after this event. And then the other one is the leading Asia payment gateway, which is called Asia Pay. They are very intent into the market as we are doing online payments. So we successfully deployed that in Hong Kong and Macau. And we have a very good way to do this kind of things. So we already signed a contract with a Hong Kong company. They will pay for the this exclusive distribution. That will be 600 units in coming 3 years. So that means we have a very good funding based on the distribution contract. And we are currently doing fundraising with the traction so far. The first one is the execution of this contract and the development of new stage of EV charging, which is faster speed and much more easier to use interface for the customers.
네, 또 질문 있으신 분 있으실까요? 네, 없으시면 여기서 마치도록 하겠습니다. 지금까지 주식회사 원차지 솔루션스 코리아였습니다. 감사합니다.
Thank you.
네, 근데 어느덧 1부의 반 이상이 지나가고 있습니다. 너무 흥미로운 발표여서 시간이 너무 빨리 가는 것 같은데요. 다음 팀도 빨리 만나보도록 하겠습니다. 다음 팀은 지구를 지키는 영웅들을 응원하는 AIoT 솔루션 주식회사 오이스터 에이블입니다. 네, 함께 만나보겠습니다. 박수로 환영해 주시죠.
네, 안녕하세요. 세계 최초 지구를 지키는 영웅을 위한 솔루션 AIoT 리사이클링 솔루션 오늘의 분리수거의 배태관입니다. 여러분, 쓰레기 문제 많이 들어보셨죠? 하지만 이 문제는 생각보다 훨씬 심각한데요. 지금 속도라면 2040년에는 우리 지구가 13억 톤의 플라스틱 쓰레기로 뒤덮이게 됩니다. 하지만 플라스틱 재활용률은 세계적으로 20%도 안 되죠. 이 문제를 해결하기 위해 그동안 참 많은 노력이 있었습니다. 하지만 결과는 미미했죠. 새롭고 멋진 장비로도 충분히 해결하지 못했습니다. 특히 이런 장비들은 가격이 비싸고 널리 설치되지 못해 그 효과를 만들어내지 못했습니다. 그러다 보니 우리가 늘 듣는 말은 시민 참여가 필요하다, 시민 의식 개선이 절실하다 이런 말이죠. 하지만 이 말은 다시 말하면 즉 우리가 아니면 안 된다는 뜻입니다. 그렇습니다. 이 지구를 지키는, 이 지구의 쓰레기 문제를 지키는 영웅들은 새로운 정책도 아니고 새로운 장비도 아니고 바로 우리 시민, 바로 여러분이란 뜻입니다. 오늘의 분리수거는 이렇게 우리 여러분, 영웅들을 응원하고 지원하는 솔루션입니다. 여러분들의 영웅적인 활동을 기록하고 보상과 포인트를 드리는데요. 한번 참여하실 때마다 10원에서 100원 상당의 쿠폰과 포인트를 드립니다. 이 방법은 정말 간단합니다. 먼저 여러분 손에 있는 재활용품을 잘 분리해 주시고요. 사진을 찍어 인증하면 포인트가 적립이 됩니다. 얼마나 내가 많이 참여했는지도 알 수 있고요. 얼마나 많은 친구들이 어떻게 참여하고 있는지도 쉽게 알 수 있습니다. 이렇게 잘 분리된 재활용품은 잘 모아야겠죠. 여러분 집 주변에 설치된 IoT 배출함에 투입하시면 더 많은 포인트를 얻을 수 있습니다. 이 IoT 배출함은 회수 정보를 집계하여 회수업체가 더 효율적으로 회수할 수 있도록 도와줍니다. 예, 그렇습니다. 우리가 참여하면 참여할수록 우리 도시가 더 깨끗해지고 더 스마트해진다는 것인데요. 이렇게 재활용품 참여 정보가 집계되어 도시 관제 기관과 관련 부서들이 재활용품 집계 정보를 더 잘 이용하고 효율적으로 재활용품을 수거할 수 있습니다. 회수 상태 정보부터 회수 시점 그리고 얼마나 많이 참여했는지도 쉽게 알 수 있습니다. 다른 장비들과 비교해보면 어떨까요? 기존의 장비들은 더 가치가 높은 페트나 캔과 같은 재활용품만 모았는데 저희 오늘의 분리수거는 모든 재활용품을 모으고 더 많은 보상과 더 많은 혜택을 드립니다. 그럼에도 가격은 훨씬 합리적이고요. 모든 지역에 설치할 수 있고 이 스마트 시티에 맞는 관제 솔루션도 한 번에 제공해 드립니다. 여기서 끝이 아닙니다. 어떻게 경쟁 제품들에 비해 더 많은 보상을 제공하는지 궁금하시죠? 그 비밀은 바로 이 마케팅 데이터에 있습니다. 오늘의 분리수거는 분리배출 참여 정보로 이렇게 마케팅 데이터를 만들어냈는데요. 즉 어떤 지역에서 어떤 재활용품이 얼만큼 버려지는지, 얼만큼 소비되는지를 알 수 있다는 뜻입니다. 이런 마케팅 데이터와 브랜드 인지도를 높일 수 있다는 이 장점은 이렇게 많은 기업들의 참여를 이끌어냈습니다. 그렇습니다. 앞으로는 우리가 지구를 지키면 이렇게 많은 기업들이 우리 여러분, 영웅들을 응원하고 지원하는 뜻입니다. 이미 많은 지역에서 참여하고 실행을 하고 있습니다. 10개 이상의 도시에서 20개 이상의 파트너사와 서비스가 진행되고 있고요. 2018년도에 처음 50대가 설치된 이후 현재는 300곳에서 4만 명 이상의 영웅들과 함께 지구를 지키고 있습니다. 내년에는 여러 지원 사업들과 공모 사업들, 그린 뉴딜이나 스마트 사업들을 통해서 전국에 1만 대 이상, 내후년에는 더 많은 지역에서 참여를 이끌어낼 예정입니다. 그렇습니다. 세계적으로 이미 70%가 넘는 사람들이 이 지구에 굉장히 많은 관심을 갖고 있습니다. 특히 밀레니얼 세대와 Z세대는 말할 것도 없죠. 이런 시장 분위기와 이렇게 급성장하고 있는 스마트 시티, 이 스마트 시티 시장이 함께 만나면 저희 솔루션은 굉장히 빠르게 성장할 수 있습니다. 이 빠른 성장세를 만들기 위해 저희는 더욱더 유연한 비즈니스 모델을 만들었는데요. 지자체에 월 20만 원의 구독형으로 IoT 인프라를 공급하고 여기서 그치지 않고 이 데이터들을 통해 지자체와 기업에게 마케팅 데이터와 재활용 관제 데이터를 제공해 드립니다. 저희는 2016년부터 굉장히 안정적인 과제를 통해서 그린 IoT와 도시 문제 솔루션을 만들고 있습니다. 환경 문제, 쓰레기 문제는 우리의 내일이 아닌 바로 지금 닥쳐오고 있습니다. 오늘의 분리수거는 우리 지구를 지키는 여러분들을 응원하고 지원합니다. 저희와 함께 내일을 지켜주세요. 감사합니다.
네, 발표 잘 들었습니다. 그럼 이어서 바로 Q&A 시간 가지도록 하겠습니다. 오늘의 분리수거, 지구를 지키는 영웅들을 응원하는 AIoT 솔루션, 주식회사 오이스터 에이블이었는데요. 질문 있으신 분? 네, 손 들어주셨는데요. 먼저 장한월 심사위원님 먼저 질문 듣도록 하겠습니다.
Thank you for the great presentation. Intriguing idea, a great motive. I think the more cooperation with the government and the corporates, I think the more successful you become in the later. So my question is, you mentioned 20 plus partners with the corporates. Could you elaborate more on those partnerships?
Yes, of course, because as you know, this trend saying the eco-friendly, like ESG, is the mainstream. So many companies are interested about our solution, our partnership. So currently we make a partnership with them as a reward provider, but many companies want to install our service in their cities, especially, for example, Lotte Chilsong, they bought our system and installed in Busan area. It's like a CSV. It's not the CSR or just a social responsible action, but it leads their marketing effect. So I'm sure that many companies will they want to join our partnership more and more. So next year, maybe 30 companies will get involved our partnership also. So yeah, I'm very expected next year.
네, 답변 감사합니다. 바로 이어서 앤디 심사위원님 질문해 주시겠습니다.
네, 대표님, 환경을 위해 너무 좋은 일을 해주시는 것 같습니다. 감사합니다. 저는 이제 몇 가지 궁금한 부분들이요. 혹시 설치를 할 때 뭐 인허가 같은 게 따로 필요하신 작업이신 건지랑, 그다음에 만약에 가설적으로 서울시에 깔 수 있는 곳에 다 까시게 되면 한 몇 대 정도의 장비가 깔리게 되는 건지가 궁금했습니다.
예, 저희는 지금 저희 제품들을 지자체에 납품을 하고 있는데요. 지자체 같은 경우 대부분 그 지자체에서 설치 이후에 예산들이나 운영들을 담당하고 있기 때문에 모든 인허가들은 지자체에서 계약을 할 때 이미 이루어지고 있습니다. 즉 다시 말하면 저희가 설치한 과정에서 별도로 인허가는 발생하지 않고요. 현재 저희 제품들이 300개가 있는데 한 70% 정도가 아파트 단지에 설치가 되어 있습니다. 근데 우리나라의 아파트가 11만 동 정도가 있고요. 세계적으로도 굉장히 많은 공동주택 단지들과 그다음에 재활용 정거장들이 앞으로 설치될 예정인데 이런 과정에서 본다면 굉장히 큰 시장 성장 예상되고 있습니다. 또 더 주목할 부분들은 스마트 시티 시장이 굉장히 성장하고 있지만 이 환경, 특히 이렇게 폐기물 관련 제품들은 거의 없습니다. 앞서 예전에 많은 제품들이 나왔을 때 그 웨이스트 매니지먼트, 그러니까 쓰레기 회수 비용을 줄이는 제품들은 있었지만 이 자원순환과 시민 참여를 만들어내고 시민 체감을 할 수 있는 이런 환경 쪽 스마트 시티 아이템은 없었는데요. 저희가 거의 유일하다고 보시면 될 것 같습니다.
네, 다음 질문 있으신 분 있으신가요? 네, 더 이상 질문이 없으신 건가요? 그럼 여기서 주식회사 오이스터 에이블의 Q&A를 마치도록 하겠습니다. 고생하셨습니다.
감사합니다.
네, 벌써 이제 1부의 마지막 팀인데요. 1부의 마지막 팀은 소개해드리기 전에 심사위원분들께 말씀을 하나 드리자면요. 우리 또 많은 시청자분들께서 함께 하시고 계시기 때문에 한국어로 발표를 하시는 분들에게는 한국어로 질문을 해주시면 감사하겠습니다. 그럼 다음 팀 소개하도록 하겠습니다. 언제 어디서나 나의 라이프 스타일에 딱 맞는 영어 투티입니다. 무대 위로 올라와 주시기 바랍니다.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to introduce you today of our online language learning platform, Tutti, a classroom tailored to your lifestyle. Now, as a language trainer, I have seen many adult learners who quickly lose interest in group classes. The traditional classroom-style session may be an excellent means to deliver information to groups, but it may not be the best way to improve your communication skills that they want. Now, those who choose online learning, they face a problem. They find it very difficult to track their progress and learning objectives. Tracking learning outcomes and engagement is highly effective when we want to gauge the effectiveness of your training. Now, this is why Tutti has come up with 2 solutions to make online learning more fun and motivating. We facilitate online instruction that is personalized to individual needs. We improve your learning. We improve your learning engagement with Gamification System. Now, when a user signs up, there are different tags that you can choose from that defines your ideal tutor based on your professions and interest. After submitting the answers for matchmaking questions, we quickly recommend you with your best matched tutors. You can see their reviews and rankings and proceed a class with them. Now, that's not all. Now, let's look at our gamification system. Now, we want to, after each session with the tutors, we give you achievements and badges. We want to track your learning actions and interactions that determine the next step in learning program. Also, you can utilize our point system. You can spend the points on learning courses. So let's look at Tutti's learning material. We have more than 300 learning materials that cover most of the categories. We also, when you sign up, we also provide you with a learning roadmap. That roadmap changes and adjusts based on your progress and achievements. Let's look at the market demand. Global online market amounts to 10 billion USD this year, and because of the pandemic, it's significantly increasing. Just in 4 years, we are looking at 21 billion USD. Now, Korean e-learning market amounts to $3.9 billion in total. Half of the users are learning languages, and mostly English. This is Tutti's business model. We have signed an MOU with SS Pagoda. We look forward to expand from English to many other languages using our system. Now, because of the adjustable learning roadmap that we have created, we are able to provide corporates with different language learning courses. This is where we stand. Now, not only Tutti has added a fun element to online learning, but also because of the point system and the structure we have created, we are able to cut down the tuition cost by self-managing and self-tracking. This is our history of our Tutti. Now, we have signed MOU with SS Pagoda, CMPS, and Lotte Develop. We have assembled a team, and we are funded by different entities that help us get here today. We are going to launch our beta version in January. This is our team. I'm the founder of Tutti. Vahid is a very experienced developer, and he was a former project lead in prominent companies. Mahmoud is our team designer. He has really taken my ideation to the next level. Thank you.
네, 감사합니다. 이어서 바로 Q&A 시간 갖도록 하겠습니다. 질문이 있으신 심사위원님께서는 손을 들어주시길 바라겠습니다. 네, 질문이 있으신 분은 데이비드 킴 심사위원님 말씀해 주시죠.
Your pitching was impressive. I'm in Washington, D.C. now, living with COVID-19. The self-education application are booming. And my question is, you mentioned, I thought that was an adaptive learning process, right? Then
yes, it is.
How do you plan to advance the analytic technology that goes into it?
Sorry, can you repeat your question?
How can you improve or advance your the adaptive learning technology?
Right. Now, that's why we came up with this point system and matchmaking system. Now, we look forward to provide users with specifically personalized content with the right tutors. That's why we're going to track their interactions and their achievements, slowly improve.
네, 답변을 마치셨습니다. 또 질문이 있으신 심사위원분께서는 손을 들어주시길 바랍니다. 네, 에이든 심사위원님 말씀해 주시죠.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. It's an interesting business model. So I have a quick question. So who's going to be your designated target? You mentioned the local institutions, and also you mentioned the gamifications for explaining your strategies. So who's going to be your main target for your business models? And also the second question is, so what's your pricing strategies? How did you decide your prices per designated target customers, clients?
Right. So our main target is business people. Now, we want to target business people because we want to utilize this system to provide them with the best learning experience. Now, later on, in the far future, we're going to target other markets as well. Now, about the cost, our biggest competitor is Ringles. Now, Ringles is charging a very high tuition fee, but we were able to cut down the cost by making our own structure and business model. So that's why we want to make it affordable. There's a huge need for Ringles class, but we want to compete with them, provide the best value, but also affordable price.
네, 질문이 더 있으신 심사위원분 계실까요? 네, 은세리 심사위원님 말씀해 주시죠.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. I'm curious, how do you track down the progress of the learner, and how do you provide adaptive learning experience to them?
Right. So we have a 2D virtual classroom. In the classroom, we quickly track them down. The tutors will write down all the notes, and also we're going to record them on video. After that, according to their progress, we're going to recommend them different level of materials. But also, we have to slowly collect their data throughout the classes. After that, I think we believe we can finalize and conclude with the best learning materials.
네, 답변을 다 마치셨습니다. 또 질문 있으신가요? 네, 없으면 여기서 마치도록 하겠습니다. 감사합니다.
Thank you very much.
네, 지금까지 10팀 중 5팀의 IR 발표와 Q&A가 마무리됐습니다. 지금부터 약 15분간의 쉬는 시간을 갖고 2부가 진행될 예정이니 2부도 끝까지 참여해 주시길 부탁드리겠습니다. 그럼 2부에서 뵙겠습니다. 네, 그럼 지금부터 2020 서울 글로벌 창업센터 데모데이 2부를 시작하겠습니다. 입주 기업들의 IR이 이어서 진행됩니다. 2부의 첫 순서는 팔리지 않는 신선한 음식을 폐기하지 않고 해결하는 올인원 B2B2C 플랫폼 다모고입니다. 발표사 사정으로 인해 인도네시아에서 줌으로 자리를 빛내주신다고 하는데요. 그럼 지금 바로 연결해 보도록 하겠습니다. 네, 연결에 성공을 했습니다. 저 그러면 다 같이 다모고 대표님의 IR 발표를 들어보도록 하겠습니다. 발표 시작해 주시죠.
So, have you ever wondered what happens to the untouched, unsold food at closing time at restaurants, bakeries, and grocery stores? And how about the weird or ugly-looking fruit and vegetables from farms? Unfortunately, it all goes to waste and gets thrown away. My name is Lin Huang, and I'm co-founder and CEO of Gamification. The fact is that 1/3 of all the food produced in this world goes to waste. We don't touch it and we don't eat it. The value of this wasted food is over $2.5 trillion every single year around the world. Indonesia is the fourth largest country in the world and the second in the world when it comes to food waste. Next slide, please. Second in the world when it comes to food waste. There's enough food thrown away to feed over 70 million people every single day. And the value of this food that's wasted is over $10 billion every single year just in Indonesia. Now, a lot of this food waste, which is untouched, comes from restaurants, bakeries, and grocery stores who are forced to throw away unsold food because they produce too much and they couldn't sell it all at the end of the day. But also at farms, 30 to 40% of every single agricultural harvest either goes unharvested or gets thrown away just because it looks weird or it's ugly, but there's nothing wrong with them and it's still perfectly good to eat. This is all perfectly good food that can be sold on our app and be brought back into the market. We created an all-in-one mobile app to solve the problem of unsold food for any food business for both B2B and B2C. So we help our partners, restaurants, bakeries, grocery stores, farms, and food manufacturers sell their unsold food, get more revenue, get more customers, and reduce their food waste and food waste costs. For our app users, just like people like you get 50% off delicious same-day food. So what we do is we help our local farmers in Indonesia sell their ugly or weird-looking food and vegetables to our more than 3,000 restaurant partners. And in turn, we help our restaurant partners selling unsold food to our app users directly on our app. In addition, our app users can purchase ugly fruit and vegetables directly from farms, and everything along this chain is highly discounted, so it's a win-win for everyone involved. For our business models, anything sold from farms, for both B2B and B2C, we put 20 to 40% margin on. Anything sold on our app and purchased on our app from restaurants, we keep 20% of everything. So basically, we have three interconnected business models. We currently have over 3,000 restaurant partners across 80 brands, including a pilot test with we have a pilot test with over the country's largest convenience store chain, Indomart, which has over 18,000 outlets. We also have part of several government startup portfolios that give us access to B2G projects, and we're an official app of Yogyakarta City, where our office is based. Next slide, please. We are currently a 3-in-1 mobile app, and the first app to offer interconnected B2B to B2C solutions for food waste. We aim to be the first super app to give any food that should not be wasted a second chance. We actually launched in Korea last year, but we completely pivoted to Indonesia earlier this year. Next slide, please. So we pilot tested for 3 months from May to July, and we launched this past month. We currently have more than 3,000 restaurant partners across 80 brands. We have partnerships with more than 150 farms, and we acquired close to 8,000 users at under 16 cents a user acquisition cost since our pilot test. Our revenue for our first month in August was $2,900. This past month, it was $38,000 for a growth of over 14 times in just 4 months. We expect fast-growing revenue, continued fast growth, especially because of our growing B2B. I have over 13 years of experience in all levels of the food industry as an entrepreneur in food processing, import-export, food distribution, and I also imported and operated an American restaurant franchise called The Halal Guys to Korea. My co-founder Faras is from Indonesia. He lived in Korea for 7 years, and he moved back to Indonesia early this year to kick off our operations and head up a pilot test over there. It's because of his strong network of contacts, we're able to get off to a really fast start. We have a team of over 20 split between Indonesia and Korea. Next slide, please. We are currently raised, we also have a significant influential advisors, including Hilmi and Reza, who are senior level at BKPM. It's the same as Kotra. And we also have the Indonesian ambassador to Korea, Umar Hadi. These three have given us really good, strong contacts in Indonesia. We also have Axton Salim, who is the executive director of Salim Group. It is the Samsung of Korea, the largest conglomerate, and he's the son of the chairman and a friend of my co-founder and a mentor. And it's because of him we're able to pilot test with the country's biggest convenience store chain. We also have Aku as an advisor on the operational side, ex-COO of Rescue Club,
마무리해 주시기 바랍니다.
biggest apps of our client on the BTC side. So he gives us really good advice. Next slide, please. We're currently raising our seed round of $350,000. It'll get us to $1.5 million.
여기까지 듣겠습니다.
So I hope everyone can join us in our impactful and profitable journey. Thank you.
네, 감사합니다. 이어서 바로 Q&A 시간 이어지겠습니다. 질문이 있으신 심사위원님께서는 손을 들어주시기 바랍니다. 팔리지 않는 신선한 음식을 폐기하지 않고 해결하는 올인원 B2B2C 플랫폼 다모고 팀에 질문이 있으신 분은 손을 들어주시기 바랍니다. 네, 안드레아 심사위원님 먼저 들어볼까요?
I really impressed by your pitch deck and very well prepared. And I have one question because we are especially under COVID-19 now. So is there any issue for any logistic or some hygiene controlling or management issue?
The only issues we faced were a lot of the restaurants were having shorter hours and some of the restaurants were closing, which gave us less active restaurants. But it's actually helped on our B2B side because a lot of the farms had a surplus of fruit and vegetables because they couldn't sell it. So we were able to take that and sell it directly to the restaurants in large quantities. And that's been growing for us because it's saving the restaurants money. So they're saving from 20 to 30% of what they usually pay. So so that's helping them. In addition, any unsold food they upload and they're making extra revenue. So it's actually been helping. We found a little bit of a blessing during COVID.
네, 답변 감사합니다. 또 질문 있으신 분은 손을 들어주시기 바랍니다. 세 분이나 하셔서요. 먼저 마리아 심사위원님 먼저 듣겠습니다.
Hi, thanks for the great presentation. I think it's a brilliant idea. There was a similar movement called Food Bank in the UK, which was initiated by a local community charity. But you're making it as a business, so it should involve a lot of profit making, right? But your business model itself doesn't, I mean, it's a really good idea, but I don't see how you can actually make money. So I'm just wondering how you're managing the communication. There seems to be a lot of stakeholders in your business model. And the second question is, what's your key market competency? As your business model is a B2B2C platform, which means you don't, from my perspective, you don't really have entry barrier. So once people acknowledge that the model actually works, then there will be many copycats entering the market. So what's your key competency?
So I'll start with your first question about how we operate logistically. So for logistics, we do our own logistics on the B2B side. So right now we're manually taking orders from all the restaurant partners, and we're talking to the farms. They deliver to us. We repack it the same day, and we go out early next morning for delivery. Right now it's manual, but we're implementing tech where our restaurants can use the app to make all the orders within the app directly and see all transparent pricing. And we'll also add other suppliers because currently they deal with more than 10 suppliers and with paperwork and phone calls, and it's a huge mess. So we're making that much easier. So it'll be a lot easier for them. And logistically, we'll be doing it ourselves. In addition, kind of hybrid, we'll also use third-party logistics. For our business models, we put margin, 20 to 40% profit margin on these on every single sale for the B2B side. B2C, we keep 20% of every transaction. For our competency, currently we're a 3-in-1 app, but we have things in line to add on new services to put us one step ahead of the game. Also, as well, our network of partnerships. We have really strong network to get these big brands. And like for example, the #1 convenience store chain that we're talking to, and we're gonna start pilot testing with. So once they work with us, we're gonna do exclusive contracts where they can't work with any other similar apps that's doing what we're doing. So our network is our really strong network is really helping us on that side.
네, 시간이 없어서 짧게 질의응답을 해주셔야 될 것 같은데요. 순서대로 어떤 분이 먼저 하시겠습니까? 네, 제임스 심사위원님 손 드셨는데 먼저 하시겠어요?
Thank you for the great pitch. So is there any kind of commitment for this round that you are fundraising right now, or it's kind of very new?
Yeah, we're in due diligence right now from the accelerator we're in, Impact Collective, and we're talking to another US VC that's been a few months, and then now our main goal is to get an influential local Indonesian VC, 1 or 2, to come into this round.
네, 또 질문 있으실까요? 네, 할당된 시간이 거의 다 돼서요. 추후에 따로 질문을 해주시면 될 것 같습니다. 그러면 여기까지 다모고 팀의 발표였습니다. 감사합니다.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
네, 다음 팀 이어서 소개하겠습니다. 다음 팀은 한국 내 테크 분야 콘텐츠와 글로벌 네트워킹을 아우르는 온라인 미디어 플랫폼의 주식회사 서울지입니다. 큰 박수로 환영해 주시길 바랍니다.
Hello, I'm John Yoon, co-founder of SoulZ, and I started SoulZ about a year and a half ago after working for companies in Korea that wanted to do global startup conferences in Korea. So my job was to bring in global speakers, startups, VCs into Korea, and they all said the same thing. They all said, wow, John, Korea is pretty amazing. Korea has great startups, they have great innovation, they have a great support system. How come I didn't know about this? And I thought about it, and yeah, Korea has such a great ecosystem. But because Korea has no presence on Google, they really can't get exposure into the global market. Did you know that South Korea, Russia, and China are the only 3 countries in the world where Google is not the #1 search engine? 90% or above, all the contents about startups, whatever it is about Korea, are all on Naver, right? So I decided to create an English content site that focuses all about Korea. So anything you want to learn about Korea, whether it's doing business in Korea, the culture in Korea, the lifestyle in Korea, it has to come through Google, which means that it comes through SoulZ's content. So my co-founder and I quit our jobs, and for 6 months straight, we just made content. We only made content that we knew we could structure it in a way that it will show up on Google search engines. So that's what we did. We quit, and then we made content. We continually made content optimized for Google. Now, what we found out is slowly, we started to gain a lot of traffic every month. This was from no advertising, no marketing, strictly through Google searches. Now, we currently rank for 100 keywords related to the Korean startup ecosystem. Now, this is nothing. We want to rank for about 1,000. We want to be the leaders when it comes to any information the global audience has about Korea has to come through SoulZ. So, thing about SoulZ is our audience is all global. Koreans don't know about SoulZ because 90% of our audience comes from outside of Korea wanting to learn about Korea. The 10% that do come from Korea are from foreigners or from English speakers that actually use Google in Korea. There are global tech media sites, but if you go on their site, very few content is about the Korean startup ecosystem. I actually spoke with a TechCrunch writer, and he said, oh, John, we get constant bombardment of press releases from Korean startups every day. They're not interested in press releases. There are hundreds of Korean news sites in Korea, but only very few provide English content, right? These few sites are the only ones that are actually promoting Korean startups globally. We feel like we could add value to these existing sites by our Google optimization. So, how do we work? We meet our clients, for example, a Korean company, and we ask them, what do you want to rank for on Google? Some might say, oh, John, we want to rank for foreigners' taxes in Korea. We want to rank for beauty startups in Korea. So we find out what keyword they like. We create content based on that keyword, and then we work about 2 to 3 months to make sure that content goes up. Now, that's the key. It takes about 2 to 3 months for content to show up in the first page of Google. Many Korean companies don't have that time. They don't want to put in that amount of work. There's a lot of interest from outside of Korea that want to do events, partnerships, business in Korea. A lot of these tech startup conferences actually reached out to us through Google, saying, hey, John, we found your content. We would love to source Korean startups. We would like to work with you. Obviously, this is on hold because of COVID, but that's an example of the power of Google. We were able to get investment through Google. An angel investor in Singapore found us through Google, loved the work we were doing, got investment. Seoul Startup Center has helped us with mentorships that's going to help us expand our business. And then we got an award from Korea National Assembly strictly for the fact that we are helping Korean startups and helping them get more global exposure. We're a very small team, but we have accomplished a lot in a year. And I feel like if you support SOZ, you're actually supporting the whole startup ecosystem. Thank you.
네, 감사드립니다. 네, 이어서 바로 Q&A 시간 갖도록 하겠습니다. 주식회사 서울지 팀에 질의하실 분은 손을 들어서 의사를 밝혀주시기 바랍니다. 네, 질의하실 분은 손을 들어주시기 바랍니다. 네, 먼저 장한월 심사위원님께서 질문해 주시겠습니다.
Yeah, thank you for the great presentation. My question is, how would you monetize your business model? Do you have any commercialization plan specifically?
Sorry, you cut off, but I think what you said was our business model. And so far, we offer 3 services. One is sponsored campaigns, one is advertorials, and one is global press outreach. So, like I said, in the beginning, our job was to create the content, and just recently, we started to take on clients. And the main reason for that is as we were trying to raise investment, all of the investors in Korea wanted to see some sales numbers, which is why we recently started to take on clients.
네, 답변을 마치셨습니다. 질문 있으신 분은 네, 마리아 심사위원님 말씀해 주시죠.
Thanks for the presentation. Can you give us any specific case where your customer or client actually liked your service? Like, can you describe more how your service is delivered?
Actually, a startup at the Seoul Global Center who specializes in 3D rendering. We did an article with the focus keyword 3D rendering companies. Now, the Seoul Fashion Week in Europe, they were doing offline because of COVID. They were like, oh, how do you do an offline event? They typed 3D rendering companies. Our article shows up number 1. In the article is the Korean startup called VSLB. And they contacted them directly and said, oh, we read about, you do 3D rendering. We would like to work with you. And they used their services for Seoul Fashion Week in Europe. And it's actually in our deck, which I cannot show because the 5 minutes was too short. But yeah, that's one case. There's other cases that we've done with Korean governments, Seoul FinTech Lab, Kita, Kotra for innovation in Korea.
네.
Okay, thanks.
또 질문 있으신 분은 손을 들어주시길 바랍니다. 네, 제임스 심사위원님 말씀해 주시죠.
Okay, John, thank you for the great pitch.
Thanks.
And,
Hi, James.
Can you please let us know how much you are raising right now, and then what would be the purpose for this fundraising?
Yes.
In detail?
We're looking to raise 200K, which means me and my co-founder, I'm actually from LA, and my co-founder's from Germany. Our Korean is about 70% at best. And I feel like when I meet Korean potential clients, I can't get my business, the SOZ's business across, that the money is going to be raised to not only hire a Korean to our team, our very small team, as well as create a YouTube channel and a podcast.
네, 감사합니다. 또 질문 있으신 분 있으신가요? 네, 안드레아 심사위원님 먼저 들어보도록 하겠습니다.
I really love your unique idea, and I have one question. Your business looks already globalized some business. So, how many team members do you need to run your business? Because you have some person in Germany.
Yeah.
Or
yeah. So to fully run at maximum ability, I do the content. My co-founder does all the design. We have a third person who does the events, which is obviously can be done. We just need that one extra person, that one Korean person that knows how to sell what we are doing in Korean to actual Korean clients. I feel like once we get our services into the all Korean companies, startups, whatever business, I feel like it's a no-brainer. But I can't do that because I'm not proficient in Korean.
네, 또 질문 있으실까요?
Okay. Thank you.
네, 그러면 상리 심사위원님 질문 들어보도록 하겠습니다.
Thanks for the presentation. Quick question. It was actually based on another question from one of the judges, but what are you guys forecasting in terms of break even right now? Because I guess you guys are raising just 200K for the Korean hire. And in terms of scale, I guess this is kind of about the market question as well. Yeah. How big do you foresee this market to be, and do you have other scale vision in your plan as well?
Yeah, excellent. Right now, we are actually breaking even, but we have to take on clients. My goal is to focus more on the content, which is why we need the investment. So the more time we spend on clients, for example, we're working with Nivea, we're working with Kita, our focus kind of shifts. Right? So if we get that investment, we could solely focus on content. As far as the growth potential, I feel like we could eventually end up being a service where if we refer any services, anything that comes into Soulz, any business that comes into Soulz, we refer it, we get a percentage. Okay.
네.
Yeah. We get a percentage of it. Yeah.
예, 감사합니다. 네, 발표 잘 들어봤고 Q&A까지 잘 마치셨습니다. 다음 팀을 소개해드리겠습니다. 다음 팀은 AI 기반 클라우드 임포팅 플랫폼 주식회사 엑포트 코리아입니다. 준비가 되시면 무대 위로 올라와 주시기 바랍니다. 벌써 2부의 중반을 향해 가고 있습니다. 흥미로운 발표 덕분에 시간이 어떻게 가는지 모르겠습니다. 끝까지 집중해서 들어주시기 바랍니다. 네, 큰 박수로 환영해 주세요.
안녕하세요. 안녕하세요. 제 이름은 피터 나빈입니다. Hi, I'm Peter, CEO of Acheimport, and I'm on a mission to help the SMEs of Korea, India, and Singapore to bring their exports back on top. Since 2019, for about 1 year, my startup went through 86 international trade exhibitions. And through all those international trade exhibitions, we realized one thing, that Korean products are extremely exciting for the Indian market, and the Indian businesses are absolutely keen on importing Korean products and trading them in India. Last year, I was fortunate enough to come to Korea on a K Startup Grand Challenge competition, and I met many Korean exporters who are really innovative and have global ambitions. But then time and again, they told me about one sad thing, and that is that even after attending trade shows in India, they end up with 0 sales to the Indian market. We dug our heels and we tried to nail down the problem statement, and that is starting the exports to India for SMEs is really difficult. And now, if I go into the reasons why, because from a distance, India looks like a really large market. However, it's a very fragmented market, and promoting a product across the whole country by just going for a one trade fair is almost impossible. Secondly, it's an even more interesting problem. If it's a small, medium enterprise, it is very difficult for a buyer across the border to trust the brand so much so they order a large quantity. It's really not possible. And because it's not possible, the sellers cannot be really competitive in terms of their price points. Now, for a moment, I would like you to think with me that if there was a solution that could solve this, it has to be a multi-country solution which does product promotion in a very smart way, perhaps leveraging data science and AI. It should be able to aggregate all small orders from all interested parties and never leave anything on the table. And lastly, just to make it easier, should do the fulfillment of the orders as well. So ladies and gentlemen, I introduce you to Acheimport, which is an AI-based crowd importing platform which helps SMEs to trade across the borders. We have launched it for Indian market, for Singaporean market, and the Korean market. Now, how does this really work? An exporter typically puts across a crowd import deal, and the buyers in the target market can place however small quantity order they want until we reach a threshold. Let's take a look at more details about it. So there is this product from Korea, which is targeting the Indian market. We work with the SME exporter. What is the maximum supplyability and how long can he wait to aggregate the order? Then the next thing is the magical number, where we work out a bulk deal with a very favorable price point for the Indian market. And then we let the digital marketing kick in. Based on data, based on trends, we collect orders from all small businesses and merchants and try to start importing that product in the country. The market size for this, looking at the Korea-India relationship, the TAM is 270 billion, the SAM is 23.5, and 2.5 billion is the SOM that we want to go after. If I analyze the competitive landscape, I would use two dimensions to it. The one is whether there's any sort of group or crowd importing happening on the cross-border platform, or whether there is any AI being used to make the system a lot more intelligent. And what I notice is across all the systems, they neither do crowd importing nor leverage AI in a very big way. So as of now, amongst B2B cross-border imports, Acheimport seems to be the only platform combining these two. Our team for this includes myself and my co-founder, Ronnie. We are both computer engineers from Nanyang Technological University, Singapore, and we have spent about 15 years in investment banking across Deutsche Bank, JP Morgan, and different parts of the world. We have partnered up with our colleague, Alex Chehyokan, who is helping us grow our Korean franchise. Our revenue model is sales, marketing commission, and finally membership fee on our platform. We have raised 135K so far, and we are raising a 1 million seed round. Now, I would like to bring back your attention to the plight of SMEs. Before the COVID period, international trade fairs were the only way they could actually promote across borders. Now with COVID in picture, that's also not possible. I'll repeat my mission as I started this presentation. My startup's mission is really to enable more trade and more exports and bring cheer to the SMEs. In this journey, I'm very thankful that we have received a strong support from international media, as well as SGSC and Case Startup to go forward. I would like to say, well, let's crowd import, let's Acheimport. Thank you very much.
네, 감사합니다. 이어서 바로 Q&A 듣도록 하겠습니다. 네, 주식회사 엑포트 코리아 AI 기반 클라우드 임포팅 플랫폼을 가진 회사인데요. 질문이 있으신 분은 손을 들어서 의사를 표현해 주시면 되겠습니다. 네, 제임스 심사위원님 말씀해 주시죠.
And then, what product is most traded from Korea through your platform, and then what's the volume size of the most traded one?
Okay, I'll answer the first part in terms of the categories of products. Typically, a lot of electronic products, cosmetic products, as well as household equipment get traded very well between Korea and India.
And can you please share about volume size of the most like traded one?
Okay, so Korea to India trade route has about $6.1 billion worth of trade going from Korea into India, and that is discounting any capital intensive or very large machinery. So these are all the products that are small, consumer oriented, and even if they target industries, they are small side, usually less than $1,000 per piece.
네, 또 질문 있으신 분 계실까요? 네, 데이비드 킴 심사위원님 질문해 주시죠.
It was a great pitch. My question is, how can you attract or pull the vendors and manufacturers to your platform side, India or Korea? Yeah.
Okay, I think that's a really interesting question, and that does excite me, because as of now, there is a glut of a lot of SMEs trying to find some way or the other to promote their products across borders. I mean, especially during the COVID times, their domestic market seems often not really doing that well, so that all their capacity is taken up. So we want to be available digitally and promote ourselves as the one-stop crowd importing platform. And we are happy to explain to them the entire journey that they can leverage on our platform right from the beginning of introduction of product, taking care of all the licensing and labeling that is required in the 3 countries, and then onwards just launching crowd import deals and waiting for it to be filled up. The rest is taken care of by our company. So with that value proposition, we hope to attract a lot more companies signing up to this, because quite frankly, international trade shows are not really, in sight as a strong way of cross-border promotion anymore.
네, 또 질문이 있으실까요? 네, 먼저 로버트 서 심사위원님 먼저 듣도록 하겠습니다.
Yes, that was a really great pitch, and I really liked your energy, so thank you for that. So I think one thing is so you're building a marketplace, and I guess I'd like to understand how you're going to approach the other side of the market in terms of attracting customers, because I think you're always going to be able to attract one side of the marketplace much easier, and you're gaining track on that. But, the other side is much more difficult. So I'll leave that to you now.
Sure. Behind the mask, I have a big, broad smile right now, because I've been given questions in increasing difficulty, to be honest. So this one was a very difficult question for us right at the genesis of our idea. And what we realized is that all the small-time sellers on Amazon, Flipkart, Shopee, Coupang, they're always looking for new products, exciting products across the globe to introduce and bring to the market. But they don't have the capacity to actually import a large quantity. So we are going after all these online sellers who are often home-based and have small capacity, and trying to aggregate orders from them to import a large order and then distribute it to them.
네, 또 질문 들어보겠습니다. 네, 안드레아 교수님, 심사위원님 말씀해 주시죠.
Thank you for your great pitch, and I like your idea. And I have one question, because each country has their own very complex custom tax.
Sure.
Right? So do you need to handle that risk, or you don't have to manage the risk?
Okay, as a part of really giving a super value proposition to all the exporters, SMEs, we actually have taken up on ourselves. We are the missionaries in this case. We are doing all the labeling. For example, I'm holding this product. We have taken care of its entire packaging. We are not white labeling it or doing OEM, no, but we are taking care of all the legalities and compliance in 3 countries, Korea, India, and Singapore. So that's why we are being very specific for these markets. India is large but fragmented. Singapore is tiny, but it has a lot of wealth for us to target. So all the compliance and labeling sits with us.
네, 할당된 시간이 다 되어서 더 이상의 질문은 어렵고요. 더 궁금한 사항 있으시면은 추후에 따로 또 질문을 해주시기 바랍니다. 네, 감사합니다.
감사합니다. Thank you.
네, 다음 팀 소개해드리겠습니다. 다음 팀은 놀이 기반의 언플러그드 교육용 게임의 회사 아폴로 에듀텍입니다. 지금 준비하시는 동안 다시 한번 소개를 해드리겠습니다. 아폴로 에듀텍은 놀이 기반의 언플러그드 교육용 게임 회사입니다. 네, 그럼 큰 박수로 맞이해 주시길 바랍니다.
Good afternoon. My name is Steve Young. I am the CEO and co-founder of Apollo EduTech. And our mission is to teach the world to code through unplugged educational gaming. I want to spend a little time on this slide because it really speaks to why we're so passionate about our product. So why code? One thing for us, coding is like the currency of the future, similar to how English was to us and recent generations. Why unplugged? Unfortunately, some studies suggest that too much screen time, especially for young kids, can lead to developmental issues. Why gaming? One thing we know for sure is that kids learn through play, and play is by far the best way to learn. So having our products be fun underlies everything we do and is critical to our success. We see the total addressable market size to be quite large, ranging about $22 billion by 2025, with a large growth rate. In addition, we see a significant market opportunity where there's a high demand for computer science education, there's a lack of enough qualified CS educators, There's a need for easy to teach materials, and this is all driven by parents' desire for less screen time for their kids. So introducing our level 1 product, Unicorn Ninjas, a play-based system for ages 5 and up, 2 to 4 players. At its core, the gaming mechanic is quite simple. It's a matching game. You assemble elements into websites, similar like what you would do with Lego. We also introduce HCI, or human-computer interactions, as hints that help teach kids and students how we interact with the elements on a website. To win, whoever can assemble the most web pages to get the 7 points wins. We also introduced 2 additional mechanics, bluffing and bugs, that adds additional complexity, fun, and learning for the players. Lastly, our game is easily scalable, as we can introduce additional expansion packs easily. So we prototyped and validated our game with over 100 people at local preschools, coding hagwons, game cafes, international schools with educators, and with many family and friends. And we're really proud of the results. The key learning outcomes as identified by the teachers include improved element terminology understanding, web design and page layouts, counting arithmetic, pattern recognition, and much more. But as I mentioned earlier, most importantly, all the educators and all the students found the game to be fun. So our business model is to create a suite of products of level 1 through 6 aimed at primary schools that would teach core computer science principles. We would both sell these B2B, which would be the schools and hagwons, but also B2C. We do have competitors, but we feel they missed the mark. To be successful, the game needs to be fun, educational, and screen-free. And while some of our competitors hit 1 or 2 of these, only Unicorn Ninjas hits all 3. So why Korea? We feel Korea is a perfect product market fit. The regulation is actually moving towards a play-based curriculum. Korea is a trendsetter. There's multiple paths to market. And all of this is driven by passionate parents who care so much about their children's education. We'll entail a partnership strategy to quickly scale up our market launch, working with computer associations, kids cafes, theme parks, education associations, and others. We will leverage these partnerships along with social media platforms to enter the B2B and B2C markets. We'll also leverage Kickstarter and other crowdfunding platforms to go global and into other markets overseas. So some key achievements. First and foremost, we're really proud of finishing our level 1 game. We've also been recognized by Coca and others. And we have launched our Kickstarter campaign that was fully funded within the first day. Some quick marketing campaign highlights. We have finished our pitch video and rules video for Kickstarter. We're also very honored that we had Robert Kondo, a former Pixar art director, and also an Academy Award nominated film producer, along with Tableau of Epic High, both support us in our campaign. This is the Apollo EduTech leadership team. Philip Choi and Ben Sadek are my 2 other co-founders, and together we hold complementary skills in software development, education, gaming, and business operations to be successful. So I hope you can join me to become Unicorn Ninjas, and together we can help teach the world to code through unplugged educational gaming. Thank you.
네, 감사합니다. 바로 이어서 Q&A 시간 갖도록 하겠습니다. 질문 있으신 심사위원분들께서는 손을 들어서 의사를 표현해 주시길 바라겠습니다. 네, 마리아킴 심사위원님 들어보겠습니다.
Hello, thanks for the presentation. It's a bit personal, but is there any personal motivation or philosophy in doing unplugged educational gaming tool business? Because from my perspective, it seems like you are running counter to the mega trend. You know, the digital transformation is everywhere in every sector. And I don't think education sector is not safe from this mega trend. So I'm just wondering why you are trying this unplugged education tool.
Sure, great question. So there is a personal element. One is I actually have 2 young boys 7-Eleven, and anyone who has young boys know they love video games and other screens. So having something, an alternative that can be educational but yet screen-free is really meaningful for us. The other way to look at it too is within these mega trends, there's actually a backlash, if you will. So a lot of research now has shown that for young kids, too much screen time can actually harm their development, and parents are becoming more aware of this. Before the COVID pandemic, you could see this trend in US private schools, which arguably are on the leading edge, where parents were pushing their schools to stop having iPads and other screens for their students. Now with COVID, additional market research has shown that parents are actually desperate for something that can take their kids away from the screen. They're already on it too much, it's too hard to monitor. So having something that can be educational and family friendly is actually something that I think that's always been around, but will continue to grow moving forward.
네, 또 질문 있으신 분은 손을 들어주시기 바랍니다. 네, 데이비드 킴 심사위원님 질문해 주십시오.
Yes, I think Upload EduTech is a startup with a vision for STEM education. Then what is the next plan if Unicorn Ninja succeeded?
Yep. So the first step is we would actually expand the game itself with expansion packs because we think there's some runway with the game itself. And then our business model is actually develop levels 1 through 6 because when you think about computer science, right now this game is really focused on HTML terminology elements. There's a lot of things around networking and other software principles that you can develop for older kids. And so our goal is to have a suite of products within the same umbrella, but really teaching computer science principles at an early age before you start getting to actual coding and the language itself to get kids excited about STEM and education while serving as a family-friendly way where parents can be involved. Parents may not have a lot of experience with computer science principles. It's a very easy way for parents to be involved with their kids' education and have fun and a great time doing together.
네, 답변을 마쳤습니다. 이어서 상리 심사위원님 질문해 주십시오.
Really love the presentation. Thank you so much. One of the things that I had a similar question as the previous judge, but if you are tackling this market from an unplugged perspective, but the scale model is actually the component of STEM education, do you foresee that, I guess, the brand or the vision around it is actually more around the STEM versus the unpluggedness of the current state of Unicorn Ninjas? And how do you foresee that transition to actually occur in kind of business execution?
So I think that's a pretty tricky thing to answer, and I think it'll depend on what we see the market respond with. Right now, with our Kickstarter campaign, for example, we ran it for 30 days. We only spent about $2,000 in marketing expenses, and we raised over $8,000 in pledges. So we think there's this untapped market here for our product. We didn't invest a lot, and we were able to kind of generate a lot of interest. And so one is we want to keep down this path to some extent before exhausting this path. Now, once we get to STEM in a broader sense, frankly, the list of competitors changes then. There are a lot of STEM players who have more technical solutions, alternatives that starts, exceeding or moving beyond what our vision is. And if we are big enough at that time and the market opportunity there, we would look to assess that, of course. But right now, we think there's enough runway in our current space of being unscreened or unplugged to keep moving forward.
네, 아쉽지만 할당된 시간이 다 되어서 Q&A는 여기까지 진행하도록 하겠습니다. 감사합니다.
Thank you.
네, 마지막 10번째 팀입니다. 정신건강관리와 웰니스 라이프를 위한 디지털 헬스케어 플랫폼 주식회사 디스크라입니다. 마지막 팀인 만큼 큰 박수로 환영해 주시기 바랍니다.
Hi, my name is Tae-young Kim, and I'm the CEO of Describe. Our brand is Kidep, which means lean on me in Korean. Our company is an online platform to increase accessibility for mental health care, as well as provide digital therapeutics. So last year in May, we were accepted into Seoul Global Startup Center, and with their help, we were able to get into many other programs, receive big grants, and then just recently we were accepted into the Ministry of Health and Welfare as a preliminary social venture. So before we started the company, we helped hundreds of people just through Facebook, and these are the 4 main problems that we found. They don't want to be labeled, they didn't know where to go, or they were in denial, or it was too expensive. So the solutions that we found were a shareable online journal with Mood Tracker, an AI chatbot with notifications and recommendations, an online wellness training program, and accompanied with a smart band to keep track of your biorhythm. Our business model is very simple. We have B2C, which is primarily from subscriptions, and B2B model, and that's for referrals. We understand that this is a big issue, and it might be hard for one company to tackle. So we formed this partnership. Number 1 is NAPIMA. It's a mental health association from the States. They're sponsored by SAMHSA, and we have an exclusive contract to digitally develop their wellness training program. 2 is Wellingby, an R&D company, co-founder, Dr. Lee Moon-soo is a psychiatrist at a Korea University Hospital, which will adapt the wellness training program into the Korean culture. MediPlus Solutions, who's actually had their solutions certified by the KFDA and the US FDA, has graciously decided to work with us. Our market size is daunting to think of, which is approximately 1/4 of the population. However, we've narrowed this number down to actual paying customers through our partnerships and our existing contracts, which I'll go over in the next couple of slides. So earlier this year, we were granted close to $1 million through the Ministry of Science and ICT. The reason why we were granted this was because big companies such as hospitals, credit card companies, and tax companies have a lot of big data. We proposed that they share this big data with the consent of users to provide care services, such as for stress and mental health. In this process, we are developing new algorithms, which these companies can later on use. Just last month, we were appointed by the Ministry of Health and Welfare as a preliminary social venture. And this is a really big deal for a small startup like ours, because look at all of these benefits. Some of the things that we get as incentives are employee subsidies, financial support, as well as property and leasing support, which will cut down on our expenses. And here's our dream team. Now, it's really hard to find skilled people, especially with a very high social impact values. And I'm very lucky to have met my team members. I've had over 5 years of facilitating support groups and also being chairman for them. Yeonha Lee, who's our director, she's had experience as a consultant from the Beautiful Store social venture. We have Sung-hoon Kim, who's had over 12 years of developing as a full-stack developer. And then we have Seung-suk Ryo, who's also had experience as a consultant for Swiss World Labor, as well as the UNDP. Since we registered our company last year in August, we have met or exceeded all of our goals. And we plan to do the same for the next 3 years. And this is our plan. For the rest of the time that I have, I'd like to save it for any questions. Thank you. Thank you very much.
네, 주식회사 디스크라이의 발표가 끝났습니다. 질문이 있으신 심사위원분들은 손을 들어주시길 바랍니다. 주식회사 디스크라이는 정신건강관리와 웰니스 라이프를 위한 디지털 헬스케어 플랫폼 회사입니다. 네, 손 들어주신 앤디 심사위원님 말씀해 주시죠.
Hi, thanks so much for the presentation. Sorry if I missed this part, but can you explain a little bit more about like which audience or user you're targeting specifically and why you're doing that?
All right, thank you for your question. So the audience that we're specifically targeting are people with mental health issues or going through mental health problems. In addition to, in order to raise awareness, that's why we have adopted the wellness training program, because we feel that in order to raise awareness, it's not only to educate the people that are suffering from mental health, but then also for normal people. The contracts that we currently have from the My Data consortium is to target small and medium-sized enterprise employees, and that contract is good for until 2026. So that's our target market through that consortium.
So is it general like people who have? So is it people who have like mental health in general, or is it for a specific type of mental health?
It's for mental health in general, but the My Data consortium is more focused on stress and mental health, mental care. So that's why we have the wellness program.
네, 또 질문 있으신 분은 손을 들어주시기 바랍니다. 네, 안드레아 심사위원님.
Thank you for your pitch. Recently, there are many platforms regarding the medical rate, like the healthcare. So I have one question. Are you going to make some collaboration with the insurance company regarding your platform?
Right. So earlier, well, maybe like a couple of months ago, we were in talks with a couple of the biggest insurance companies here in Korea, and we are working. We're working on a new proposal, and we plan to repitch it sometime next year.
For example, there are not just governmental insurance company, but also there are many private insurance companies. So do you have any plan with that collaboration or sharing information together?
Right. So a lot of insurance companies, the two that I actually can't mention because we have a NDA, but the insurance company's primary focus is for preventive care. If they can prevent their clients from going to the hospital more regularly, or even for a big reason like big illness, then they are all for it. And so that's why we are we are currently working. We're currently in talks with them to develop something like that.
네, 또 질문 있으신 분은 손을 들어주십시오. 네, 데이비드 킴 심사위원님.
Hi, thank you for your presentation. You mentioned DTX. Then which features or component on the platform fit in the DTX requirement?
DTX? I'm not sure what that.
Yeah. Digital therapeutics.
Digital therapeutics. So digital therapeutics, the way that we are planning on launching is that the wellness training program from the PIMA have been conducted offline for the past 10 years in the States. And with that, we are digitally developing it right now, either through virtual or through our app, and accompanied with a smart band. So with that smart band, we're able to receive the data of clients that take the wellness training program before, during, and after, and then we'll be able to analyze that data a little bit more carefully.
네, 마지막 질문 받겠습니다. 질문 있으신 분은 손을 들어주십시오. 네, 없으면 여기까지 하겠습니다. 지금까지 주식회사 디스크라이였습니다. 네, 이것으로 2020 서울 글로벌 창업센터의 모든 기업들의 IR이 종료가 되었습니다. 처음 진행된 데모데이임에도 불구하고 정말 훌륭한 기업들이 IR을 해주셨는데요. 그 중에서도 앞서 말씀드린 상위 3개 팀이 곧 수상될 예정입니다. 시상식은 10분 후에 바로 진행이 될 예정이니 끝까지 함께 해주시길 부탁드리겠습니다. 그럼 10분 후에 다시 뵙겠습니다. 네, 지금부터 2020 서울 글로벌 창업센터 데모데이 시상식을 시작하겠습니다. 시상은 서울 글로벌 창업센터의 조성민 센터장님께서 진행해 주시도록 하겠습니다. 인사 부탁드립니다. 네, 그럼 3위부터 발표하도록 하겠습니다. 2020 서울 글로벌 창업센터 데모데이 3위 팀 오이스터 에이블 축하드립니다. 네, 오이스터 에이블은 지구를 지키는 영웅들을 응원하는 AIoT 솔루션 오늘의 분리수거라는 슬로건을 가진 회사입니다. 진심으로 축하드립니다. 힘찬 박수 부탁드립니다. 네, 곧바로 다음 2위 팀 말씀드리겠습니다. 2020 서울 글로벌 창업센터 데모데이 2위 팀 아폴로 에듀텍 축하드립니다. 네, 아폴로 에듀텍은 놀이 기반의 언플러그드 교육용 게임을 가진 회사입니다. 진심으로 2위 수상을 축하드립니다. 박수 부탁드립니다. 네, 마지막 대망의 1위를 발표하겠습니다. 2020 서울 글로벌 창업센터 데모데이 1위 팀 다모고 축하드립니다. 네, 지금 다모고 팀은 인도네시아에 있는 관계로 직접 수상을 하지 못하기 때문에요. 줌으로 손을 뻗쳐주시면 감사하겠습니다. 상을 받아주십시오. 다모고 대표님, 손을 앞으로 뻗어주십시오. 네, 여러분은 지금 특별한 랜선 수상 장면을 보고 계십니다. 네, 1위를 진심으로 축하드립니다. 네, 다모고 대표님 한마디 부탁드립니다. 수상 소감 부탁드릴게요.
Super happy, super excited to get first. There was like a lot of good startups. Obviously, the top 10 that got chosen, and there were a lot of good pitches. So I'm super excited to be come out on first amongst all these really good startups and really good pitches. So super proud and thank you, everyone.
네, 감사합니다. 진심으로 축하드립니다. 이것으로 2020 서울 글로벌 창업센터 데모데이를 마무리 짓도록 하겠습니다. 마치기 전에 다 같이 앞에 나와서 단체 사진 한번 찍겠습니다. 자리에 계신 여러분들은 모두 무대 위로 올라와 주십시오. 단체 사진 촬영이 있겠습니다. 모두 무대 위로 올라와 주시길 바랍니다. 센터장님 가운데로 와주시고요. 수상하신 분들은 옆에 서주시면 되겠습니다. 참가해주신 분들도 옆에 나란히 서주시면 감사하겠습니다. 함께해주신 분들 모두 무대 위로 올라와 주시기 바랍니다. 네, 사진 촬영이 있겠습니다. 모두 앞에 있는 카메라를 보시고 활짝 웃어주시기 바랍니다. 네, 찍겠습니다. 하나, 둘, 셋. 네, 자유로운 포즈 해주시면 되겠습니다. 네, 엄지척 한번 다 같이 갈까요? 네, 심사위원분들도 다 같이 엄지손가락을 들어주시기 바랄게요. 네, 다 같이 찍겠습니다. 엄지손가락 자 들어주세요. 하나, 둘, 셋. 네, 됐습니다. 감사합니다. 안전하게 무대 밑으로 내려가 주시면 되겠습니다. 네, 수고 많으셨습니다. 지금까지 참여해주신 심사위원, 참가 기업, 시청자분들 모두 감사드립니다. 저희는 내년에 더욱 좋은 행사로 다시 찾아뵙도록 하겠습니다. 감사합니다. 심사위원분들은 함께해 주신 시청자분들을 위해서 손을 흔들어 주시길 바랍니다. 네, 모두 고생 많으셨습니다. 따뜻한 연말 보내세요. 지금까지 서울 글로벌 창업센터 데모데이였습니다.